I have a couple of questions, some comments related to attracting business, attracting economic growth to Pennsylvania, particularly from a rural perspective. I also want to talk a little bit about competition and incentives and deterrence to attracting business to the Commonwealth. Specifically, as we're in competition with our surrounding states, the rest of the country, and really the globe, there's a number of things that concern me, and so I'd like to hear your perspective on what the deterrents are that you feel don't make Pennsylvania conducive to attracting new businesses or business growth to Pennsylvania.
That's okay. That is a great question. We look at that all the time. I think you're not going to want to hear this, but I want to turn it around real quick, and then I'll come back to what you're saying. So we look at what's working and what people are looking at in Pennsylvania as a reason to come to Pennsylvania to locate a business. And I got to tell you, one of the things is I congratulate the legislature and the governor on finally eliminating the capital stock and franchise tax. Eliminating that tax and for people like me and others who are going out there, and we are going to businesses outside of Pennsylvania, we're talking to site selectors, to be able to say that we're a business, or we're a state that is reducing business taxes. There aren't a lot of states that are doing that. That is an absolute great thing. The concern that we have is, and it goes back to Amazon, and the reason Amazon decided to locate in the two places they did, notwithstanding what happened in New York, is that there is a skills gap. And make no mistake about it, when companies are looking at where they're locating, incentives, they're important, but they're not number one, number two, or number three. The number one thing is talent. And we think that we have talent, an incredible amount of talent, but we need to do a much better job to continue to develop that talent, and also to make that keep that talent here in Pennsylvania, and find ways to continue to work with our universities and work with our community colleges and others to make sure that talent stays here and continue to develop that. We also need to work on continuing to develop out our younger folks and having them understand that there are options for them, when they're going to school, that they're not a failure if they don't go to a 4-year school. It's great if they want to, and that's fantastic for them, but there's so many other options for them to have a good career. And companies that are thinking about coming to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania companies, more importantly, that are thinking about expanding, we need to be able to have a good qualified workforce so that they can do that. And that goes from the smallest company to the largest company.
Thank you. My next question pertains and is specific to Indiana County. I know that you've been to Indiana County, and we're thrilled to have Urban Outfitters announce that they're going to be locating at one of our business parks. But at the same time, we applied for an extension. And I know this isn't the most popular program around the state, but the Keystone Opportunity Zones. Yeah. We applied for an extension of that business park. So here we have a win that's hopefully going to open the door to additional businesses attracting in the business park, yet we were denied the extension on the Keystone Opportunity Zone. So I'm wondering what you see as the future of that program, and what criteria are used to select those locations or those extensions.
Yeah, and that's a question we get a lot. The Keystone Opportunity Zone program. We look at the extensions one by one. Every one is unique. There are some areas that have not had, some of the areas that are Keystone Opportunity Zones that have been Keystone Opportunity Zones for years have not had any investment. Some have had a lot of investment. There are some Keystone Opportunity Zones that have had an incredible amount of investment that are asking for additional extensions. And that's not something that we want to really consider unless they're really extenuating circumstances. In that particular issue, because I was so familiar with it, we worked really hard, along with the former House leader, Representative Reed, right. Former Representative Reed, yes. I guess, but worked really hard with him, the economic development officials there, which did a great job to get Urban Outfitters to come to that area and negotiate with Urban Outfitters. The one thing that we want to do is when we're negotiating and through either our governor's action team or others, our idea is to provide as little as possible. The company's going to want as much as possible, right. And then we meet somewhere in the middle, and we did in that case.
Okay, thank you. And then just one final question. I have a little bit of time left. Related to the Tourism Promotion Fund and the combination of the marketing to attract tourists and marketing to attract businesses, just a brief explanation on how that's going to work. Because I can tell you our economic development people and our tourism people back home are really in a panic over how they're going to be funded, are they going to be funded, and those, particularly to our rural areas, are fundamental to our success.
Well, first of all, thank you again to the legislature and the Senate and the House for passing that legislation. That's absolutely incredible. I think it's critical for Pennsylvania to now have be able to develop a really robust tourism program. I think this money is going to go a long way towards that. I know in the legislation there's an item that's up to 50% could be used for tourism-related grants. We don't know if we're going to get to that point, to 50%. Frankly, I don't think that we'll get to that point. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to really cast the net wider in terms of what we can do with these tourism dollars, not only domestically in the United States, but internationally, because we think that there are tremendous opportunities for that. We also think there are great opportunities to utilize the tourism funds for special initiatives. Like we had a Fred Rogers tour that started last year that coincided with a Tom Hanks movie that was being filmed in Pittsburgh. So there are things like that that we really want to develop out, and we think we have the opportunity to do that. And again, thank you very much for the support.